Hey guys, Anthony here. I'm going to do a cigar review today, but before I do, and in light of Father's Day this coming Sunday, I thought I'd do a video on how to judge a good cigar. You know, who's to say, this particular cigar is good, or this particular cigar tastes great, or has a great aroma, or a good draw, or a great burn. How do you determine that? And it's determined by several different factors, which we'll go over in this video. And then I'll do a lighter video on actually testing and tasting a cigar, which for this particular video, is this particular cigar here, the La Flor Dominicana, right here. There's the name. And it's a double laguero. This happens to be a chisel tip, meaning the tip of the cigar that's not cut yet looks like a chisel, and you can see how it's made. It's pretty cool. Haven't tried this particular cigar yet, but as you can see, just from the video, from seeing it on the camera, it looks like a very well made cigar. But looks can be deceiving in the cigar industry, as we shall see. And so with that in mind, how do you judge a good cigar? Well, several factors. Let's go over a couple things, and then we'll do our next video on the actual cutting, lighting, and tasting, the fun part. But what's one of the key things to remember when you're judging a good cigar? One of the key things is consistency. The cigar must be consistent. The two general elements in making a fine cigar are what? Quality tobacco and quality construction. You could give me the greatest construction materials to build something, but if I don't know what I'm doing and then try to build that structure or whatever it is, odds are it's not going to come out, the quality is not going to be there. And so you could have the best elements, but if your constructor, the person building it, is poor, you're going to have a bad finished product. So again, quality tobacco is important, but also quality construction. And then going along with that is the consistency. And in both these areas is a key factor. If this cigar that we're testing today was not consistent from stick to stick, in other words, if I had a box of 25 of these, and each one of this particular size and brand tasted different, burned different, and the list goes on and on, odds are the tobacco and the quality of construction was not there. And so consistency is important, just like it is in sports. Being able to perform on a high level over and over again is one of the ways we measure excellence. And that's same in the cigar industry. A good quality, consistent cigar is going to have well-built construction and well-picked quality tobacco. So when you choose a cigar, the quality of that cigar should be the same each time you smoke it. Okay, keep that in the back of your mind. And a good way to do this, if you're new to the cigar, new to smoking cigars, is to go out on a limb and buy a box of 25 and smoke that whole box over the course of time, and then judge for yourself the construction, the tobacco, and the consistency of that cigar. Okay, construction. How a cigar is constructed is very important. If construction is poor, you'll have a cigar that will not perform well. What do I mean? Well, an underfilled cigar, meaning that the filler leaf is not enough. Your cigar, when you light it, is going to burn hot and draw a lot of smoke at once, and then odds are it's going to be very bitter on the tongue and to your palate. In conjunction or in contrasting to that, an overfilled cigar will be tough to draw, which means it'll be tough to pull smoke out of it, and you'll get a low volume of smoke, hence a little flavor, not much flavor. Good construction is essential. You can have the best materials, but again, like I said, shoddy construction will ruin your smoking experience. Characteristics of good construction. What are some of the characteristics of good constructed cigar? And you'll see that when we do the review of this cigar. An even burn. You know, when you light the cigar, if you light it the right way, will the cigar burn evenly throughout the course of the smoke, rather than burn unevenly and give you inconsistent flavors. Will the ash be firm? In other words, when the cigar is lit and you have an ash going, the ash should be firm. It shouldn't be real flaky and falling off. In fact, you know, if you're careful with your cigar, you should get at least an inch worth of ash before the ash falls off. You know, that's usually a good gauge of the quality of the filler. A good feel in your mouth. You know, the cigar should feel good in your mouth. It should feel good to the touch. It should not have many blemishes. The color and consistency should be good. And you'll see that when we do the review. Before we even light the cigar, we'll look it over and we'll examine it. You know, when you're paying these days, you know, good money for cigars, you know, $8, $10, $15, $20. And again, price is not always the gauge in a good cigar. But if you're spending good money on cigars, you want to make sure the characteristics of construction are there. Okay? And again, your draw and your burn are two of the most important factors of good construction. When you draw the cigar, when you draw on the smoke, it should be consistent. It should not overwhelm you. But again, you should not have to really work really hard to get smoke out of that cigar. And your cigar should burn evenly, and it should stay lit. Even when you're, you know, not taking a puff on it, it should stay lit for several minutes in between you going to take your next draw. Okay, so if these are not good, draw and burn, there's going to be a problem with your construction. Next on our third item on our list is tobacco. Must be consistent and high quality. In other words, the producer of the tobacco must ensure consistent supply. You know, crops vary. Weather plays a key role. Hurricanes, droughts, you know, soil consistency, all plays a role. So if a producer of fine cigars gets a cigar and wants to ensure the tobacco is good for that crop, and if that tobacco selected is good, he must be able to purchase a large amount of it and then get it ready to make into cigars. So the producer must be able to have the financial wherewithal to buy large batches to ensure the consistency of his brand. And the blends must be kept consistent. In other words, if this cigar has, you know, blends from Dominican Republic, Nicaragua, whatever, inside the filler here that you see, that must be consistent as well from stick to stick. So this double Ligero, every time I smoke it in the chisel tip, should be the same in quality and flavor. Okay? So the blends must be kept consistent. Number 4, when and where a cigar is smoked is important. You know, believe it or not, when and where you smoke a cigar is important. A cigar tastes different in the morning than in the evening, for instance. On an empty stomach and after a meal. With coffee, say, or with scotch maybe, or even with a beer, your cigar will taste different. And then that's a preference of yours when to smoke the cigar. I like particularly to smoke a cigar. It's usually after dinner, shortly after dinner. Most of the time it's with you know, either coffee or cappuccino or an espresso, and sometimes it's with a good single malt scotch or a good you know, a good craft beer. And then whether you smoke it inside or outside makes a big difference. You know, today most people have to smoke outside. There are some areas, you know, cigar-friendly areas and restaurants and cigar bars where you could smoke inside. So that's all going to affect the taste of your cigar. Again, the best temperature to keep your cigars. That's a biggie, especially if you're investing in a box of cigars. You see here my humidor, and I have several. This happens to be one of my bigger ones. I'll give you a look inside in just a bit, and we'll see my temperature gauge. But if you're investing, $100, $200 in a box of cigars, and you put them in a Tupperware with no humidity and not at the proper temperature, your investment will be down the tubes in a very short period of time. So again, most commonly, and you could look this up on the web, get some more information. I'll try to put some links in the description box. Room temperature is the best temperature to keep the cigar at. So your humidor should be at room temperature, and then your humidity level should be at least 73% humidity. So I advise you buying a humidor that has a temperature humidity gauge built into it, or buy one, at the hardware store like I did, and put it inside your humidor. You'll moisten your material inside your humidor, usually with distilled water. That's what I use in mine. Or you could buy on the market today. They have lots of aftermarket products that you could wet down your humidifier with to keep the cigars at the right humidity level. Next, the size of the cigar. The size or the ring gauge of the cigar is measured in rings. You'll hear, I have a cigar that's 6 inches long and 50 ring gauge. This particular one here, I believe, is about a 50. I'll double check. But that's the diameter of the cigar. So this cigar, this La Flor Dominicana, should give me a very good volume of smoke because of the ring gauge. Ring gauge is measured as one ring equals 1/64th of an inch. So a 50 ring gauge cigar like this one would be about 3/4 of an inch in diameter. Okay? So 50 ring gauge cigar, about 3/4 of an inch in diameter. There's cigars today over 60 ring gauge. The bigger the ring gauge, the bigger the volume of smoke and the more intense the flavor is going to be. So keep that in mind when you buy a bigger, thicker cigar. And again, getting back to, if I say this cigar is the best cigar in the world, and then you smoke it and you hate it, we all have preferences in the taste of a cigar. So taste, is a preference that you'll have to develop. You may develop a taste for, a really strong cigar, and I may have a taste for a more mild to medium-bodied cigar. But again, that's going to come with experimentation, getting out there, smoking a few different types of cigars, different sizes, different ring gauges, different lengths, different brands, and then keep some notes and keep a little journal and decide for yourself what you like, and then maybe you could purchase a larger amount of those and stock your humidor up with the cigars that taste good to you. So I hope this helped you on how to judge a good cigar. I have some pamphlets at home. If anybody needs any, send me a PM with your address. I'll send you a couple. I don't know how many I have, but I do have a couple, and this is where I got the material from. It's How to Judge a Good Cigar. Just a little pamphlet that I've had over the years, and if you're interested, let me know. Send me a PM and I'll send you one. Let's take a look inside my humidor and check my humidity level and my temperature. Alright guys, let's open the humidor up. Okay, this happens to be has a little pull-out shelf in it. So I have room on the bottom for more cigars. And this is where my humidistat, or the material that you'll wet down. So this material will be wet down and then placed in the slot here, and then a tray to be put on. This is all cedar lined. Again, what I like to do sometimes is take some distilled water on a rag, wipe down your cedar, get it nice and moist, which I might have to do here because my temperature gauge is showing, or my humidity gauge is low. So this is what I have in mind. It's a Bionaire humidity temperature, and it's telling me I have 48% humidity, which is horrible, and 78 degrees Fahrenheit. So I've got to make some adjustments to this. Luckily, I don't have a lot of cigars. I just have the one that I just bought this week or a day or two ago, so this cigar is not really affected yet, and I'm smoking it tonight anyway. So I'm going to have to wet down my humidor, get the humidity level back up, and again, once you fill it with cigars at the right humidity, things seem to balance out. Make sure you got a good seal, make sure it's closed all the way, and so again, some humidors come with it. I bought that one in the hardware store, and there you go. That's how you keep it. The little one outside on this humidor here is not working properly. I don't go by that. I go by the one inside the humidor. Along with your cigar, you're going to want a good cutter. This is a Xeno Cutter. I've had it for over 15 years. It works just as good as it did 15 years ago. My wife bought it for me. It's been cutting all my cigars for the most part. That's a guillotine cut. Got these Tommy Bahama mints that are real strong and take the cigar. They'll help after a cigar. There you go. They're just a strong mint. You might want to keep those handy. And then sometimes if I'm going out and I take 2 or 3 cigars with me, I got this nice cedar-lined case that holds my cigars. If I want to share one with a friend or a buddy, I could take this, throw it in my bag, take it with me, and the cigars won't get damaged. I like to use cedar matches, wooden matches, to light my cigars, and that's my preference. I think that's what you should use if you can use a good wooden match to light your cigar. If you can't, use a good a good quality butane lighter with the proper fluid in it. Okay? So I hope this review on how to judge a good cigar helps. If you guys have any questions or comments, send me a note and I'll try to answer for you, and then we'll enjoy our review that's coming up. Thanks for joining me. Take care. Have a great Father's Day weekend. Hopefully you'll get out there, smoke a cigar, and enjoy yourself. You deserve it. Take care and God bless.